on ATV.
Probably went to the table to get some cake, and the handle was with the cake. So she probably ate the cake with the handle, you know.
How much is that doggy in the window? And is the knife included? We've got the scoop on a bizarre tale tonight, live at 5.
Now, from the ATV News Center at every city and town in the Maritimes, this is the ATV Evening News, live at 5.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Live at 5 for Tuesday, the 25th of January. I'm Nancy Regan.
And I'm Paul Meunier, and welcome to the Tuesday edition. Going to be an interesting night tonight, certainly with that dog story, the dog gone wayward.
Story.
Yeah.
A dog tale, you could say.
A little different, no question about that. And we have Yvonne Colbert on your side tonight coming up, and Richard Zarowski, of course, working on a forecast that promises a little bit of warming, that long-awaited January thaw, I think.
And if you could have a pen and paper handy, or grab one right now, we're going to be asking you a question in a Live at 5 telephone poll tonight about your feelings on peacekeeping, or Canada's role in peacekeeping duties around the world. So we'll show you some pros and cons and then ask you a question in our phone poll.
And of course, we've got ATV reporters working on that story and many others tonight. Here's a preview of what our reporters have on tap tonight.
I'm Jonathan Kay. Canada's peacekeepers are world famous. But is that fame now coming with a price tag that's just too high? See what you think tonight on Live at 5.
I'm Laverne Stewart at CFB Gagetown. Join me later when I'll talk with two soldiers who've returned from the former Yugoslavia.
I'm Randy McDonald in Sydney. Got a hangover? Stay home and get paid for it. We'll explore the world of worker absenteeism and how it affects productivity and the economy. Coming up on Live at 5.
And also tonight, Yvonne Colbert works on a parking problem. ATV on your side a little later.
Now, before they
That poll was about here.
And we'll update last night's story about the Pictou County violin. Is it a Stradivarius? Find out tonight. All this and much more ahead on the Tuesday edition of Live at 5. First of all, here's Steve Murphy working on the ATV Evening News at 6. Steve.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Good afternoon, everyone. Here's what's coming up in your evening news tonight at 6 o'clock. As some civil servants come to terms with pay cuts and layoffs, it seems some maritime politicians are getting a raise. Find out who and why tonight at 6 o'clock. Of course, everybody's being affected by cutbacks and expected to share in carrying the cost of some of them. But people in one maritime neighborhood think they're being asked to do too much. How will they get by when fire and police protection are cut back? We'll find out at 6 o'clock tonight. And also coming up, community college students wondering if they'll be able to continue their education as the magnitude of tuition hikes sinks in. Is this another broken political promise? We've got Hot Talk on Campus coming up tonight at the ATV Evening News at 6 o'clock. Right now, a quick look at the maritime weather forecast. Here's Richard Zarowski in the ATV Weather Center. Richard?
Thanks a lot, Steve. What we're looking at tonight is an awfully cold night coming up. Again, temperatures down to minus 30 in some areas, inland areas of the Maritimes. The good news is we're also going to tell you about a January thaw that may be here in time for January. Tell you all about that later on Live at 5, Steve.
Okay, the weather here at 5:30, then at 6 o'clock. All the day's top stories, including Canadians keeping the peace in dozens of locations around the world. But that could be about to change. Tonight at 6 o'clock, the very latest from the House of Commons on the war of words raging over the future of Canadian peacekeeping efforts. These stories and more right after Live at 5, which continues now with Nancy and Paul on that very subject.
Thank you, Steve.
That's right, Steve. It is peacekeeping first at 5 tonight, and it certainly is a controversial issue these days. And for many, you know, it boils down to moral obligation versus the financial commitment.
More on that in a moment, but, you know, trouble continues in war-torn former Yugoslavia. Canadian peacekeepers have been there since the spring of 1992, just after the breakup of the country. ATV's Laverne Stewart has been talking with a couple of soldiers from CFB Gagetown about their experiences and Canada's role there. Laverne.
Nancy, the men and women who've returned will never forget the devastated countryside and the shattered lives of the people who live there. And the men I spoke to today say that they believe it's necessary that Canada continue playing a role there.
We get maps.
It's quiet here at the military base today. Most of the soldiers who were sent on peacekeeping duties have returned and are now on winter training exercises. In total, 510 military personnel was sent to the former Yugoslavia from here at CFB Gagetown. Only about 20 remain, along with 2,000 other military personnel from CFB Valcartier in Quebec. They're continuing with the peacekeeping duties.
The black outline is Bosnia, and this up here is Croatia as long as down the coast.
Captain Kevin Cameron was deployed with the 1st Canadian peacekeepers in April of 1992.
There was a lot of damage in the southern area, right along the Croatian-Bosnian border. Things did get better in Sector West. A lot of, like I said, a lot of battle damage and misplaced families and people who wanted to come back into their former towns and re-begin their lives.
Most of the soldiers who returned say they'd go again and feel Canada's peacekeeping role is vital.
Most of the soldiers that go over there have a good experience and they enjoy it. And it's demanding, yes, but it's a lot of satisfaction, self-satisfaction.
Many of the people there have been left with virtually nothing. Food and clothing is only possible through humanitarian efforts.
That people would have died over the winter of '93 if the UNHCR and UNPROFOR had not been able to put in the supplies that it did.
So it's really necessary, in your opinion, that Canada remains over there?
I think we're still doing a viable job there and making a difference.
It's important to remember that this still remains a very volatile area. The peacekeeping mission over there is supplying much-needed food and supplies to those people who would be left devastated without anything. Paul?
And of course, it's just awful kind of watching the goings-on over there. I suppose it really has an impact on the men that you spoke with. Is there any one thing that they remember about the people?
You know, I asked that question to one of the men out there, Major Elms, and he said the children. Hundreds and hundreds of children who are left destitute and without anything. So it's obvious that something has to be done for these people, continue sending the food and supplies that they so desperately need.
All right, thank you, Laverne, Stewart, and Fredericton. And of course, Canada's involvement in Bosnia is just one of many peacekeeping efforts that Canadians are represented at. And our focus on peacekeeping continues now. Here's Nancy.
Thank you, Paul. In the House of Commons tonight, they're debating both the role of Canadian peacekeepers in Bosnia and the future of peacekeeping in general. Foreign Affairs Minister Andre Roulette says without the efforts of Canadian soldiers, people who would otherwise be dead are alive. But others say the results don't warrant the risk posed to Canadian soldiers and the financial costs of the operations. ATV's Jonathan Kay joins us now live. And Jonathan, if Canada's peacekeepers are respected the world over, why mess with success?
Well, the debate that's going on in Parliament today, and actually continues as we speak, Nancy, isn't likely to result in the end of all Canadian peacekeeping missions globally. However, it seems more and more people are saying the government has to review its priorities. More than 2,300 Canadians are on duty tonight around the world, acting as peacekeepers. Over the years, 87 Blue Beret Canadians have died, and millions of dollars have been spent, all to mediate problems in foreign countries. Now, some say it's time to re-examine whether peacekeeping is worth that price.
I think we spend an awful lot of money. I don't know if it really makes a big difference.
Oh, I think I'd rather see more money spent at home right now.
The healthcare system, low and fixed income people, not having nourishing foods, and look at the staggering unemployment rate. It's incredible that Canada can take millions of dollars per year and send people and put them at risk in doing so to other countries throughout the world.
But others believe the hardships suffered by some Canadians pale in comparison to those faced by the people at the center of foreign conflicts.
When you look at the problems we have here versus the people that in Bosnia and places like Somalia, they just don't compare.
Military analysts say it would be folly to withdraw from having any influence in world events and look only inward. Dan Middleman says the government should re-examine its criteria for getting involved in particular conflicts and should say no a bit more often than it does now. But he says peacekeeping has its rewards.
It's in keeping with our desire to help the underprivileged, to help new countries get on their feet and everything else, so that we can maintain good relations with them, establish good trade links with them in the long term. So it is of benefit to us to have a stable world order. I think that has been consistently a primary objective of Canadian foreign policy as well as defense policy since World War II.
And as the debate in Ottawa continues, that seems to be the tone that it's taking. Everybody seems to agree that peacekeeping has its merits, but there's a real concern about overextending ourselves, about getting involved in situations such as we did in Cyprus, where money is spent, lives are lost, and the underlying situation continues to exist for 30 years.
There certainly seem to be a lot of people who would rather see the money spent here at home.
That attitude is prevalent. There are two ways to look at peacekeeping. These people aren't necessarily questioning the capabilities or the motivation of the individual members of the forces, but instead of seeing it as helping people in trouble, they see it as interfering in the internal affairs of another country. And they say that until Canada gets its country working properly, we should concentrate our time and our money here instead of looking elsewhere.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. ATV's Jonathan Kay in Halifax tonight. Paul.
And now we want to know what you think in a Live at 5 telephone poll. Our question tonight is this: do you think Canada should cut back on peacekeeping? If you'd like to register a yes vote, the number to call is 1-900-273-0030. That's 1-900-273-0030 if you think Canada should cut back on peacekeeping. If you'd like to vote no on the question, the number to call is 1-900-273-0031. That's 1-900-273-0031 if you think that Canada should not cut back on peacekeeping. Calls cost 50 cents apiece. The lines will remain open until 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, and we will repeat the number in just a few minutes in case you missed them this time around.
There's lots more still to come on the Tuesday edition of Live at 5, including Richard's complete maritime weather forecast and some good news for his children's science show, Wonder Why.
And we're also going to tune in the latest on the Michael Jackson saga. But up next, should employees get a sick day for a hangover? Our ruling in Ontario has a lot of Maritimers talking. We've got the story when we come back.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that. It is vitally important that people show up to work every day for the survival of their business and the survival of their jobs.
The employees that are on the planes obviously want to be there. Yeah, they're cool.
And they offer you everything but your slippers, you know, to make you comfortable.
You're not on the plane too long before you have a coffee in your hand.
Nova.
It's in the style, it's in the hand, it's in the good things that come from the land. It's in the way we care for everybody close to us. And that's the showbiz touch.
I'm going up to the Lotto 649 booth.
You play on Wednesdays?
Yes, and Saturdays. Twice a week, twice the chances.
I see your point. Especially when it's that great place for sale off the highway, right beside the ocean. What a view. Except when the fog rolls in. But why move when you can renovate your way to perfection? A 649 ticket, please. I just got inspired.
Lotto 649. Everybody's got a dream.
Air Nova.
It gets me where I want to go.
Like in the early in the morning.
We'll be in New York for lunch at 1.
Do your work and have your meetings.
And get back to my family.
Before the kids get to bed.
It gets me in and out in the same day. I like it. I'm home for dinner.
Air Nova.
Here's your breakfast.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
You too.
Hey, where's my coffee?
I was scene near Fredericton along the St. John River this morning. The river actually swallowed up a backhoe. Happened about 10:30 this morning. Luckily, the operator wasn't hurt. Managed to call for help from a nearby house. A work crew from the city's engineering department has been trying to remove the machinery all day. Snow's normally cleared from the city streets and then later placed on the river in that way to help prevent flooding in the spring. Nancy?
Thank you, Paul. Well, that would cause headaches, but try this for size. The hangover has been elevated to new heights. An Ontario Labour Tribunal has ruled that a hungover government worker who admitted his plight when he called in sick was justified in staying home. Reaction tonight from ATV's Randy McDonald, who joins us live from Sydney. Randy.
Nancy, you may be surprised to learn that the average Canadian worker racks up nearly 10 days a year of absenteeism due mainly to illness. Now, everyone has sympathy for a worker who is truly sick, but on the street today we could find no support for someone who has a hangover, calls in sick, and expects to get paid for it.
Oh, definitely not. You have no business getting drunk the night before you have to go to work.
Do you think they should be given a sick day for that?
No, definitely not. It's self-inflicted. So.
That means the more you drink, the more you can take off work, I guess, eh?
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that.
The hangover ruling also astonishes employers like Ken Wilson. Wilson owns a pair of hardware stores in industrial Cape Breton with a combined staff of 30.
It is vitally important that people show up to work every day for the survival of their business and the survival of their jobs. It's come down to that.
Wilson's stores pride themselves on personal service. That service reputation depends upon employees like John Duffy punching in and day out.
I think the last time I missed time was my dad died 4 years ago. If you're not in the store all the time, if you're missing time, then store morale goes down because people have to cover for you when you're not here. And that puts a lot of pressure on the rest of the staff.
It is taxpayers who foot the bill when staff absenteeism becomes a problem in a place like school. That's because substitutes are a very costly expense.
The constant K. And how do you work out the value of the constant K?
Substitutes will never make a living replacing Gwen Shepherd in the classroom. The veteran high school teacher has maintained one of the best attendance records in her school district during nearly 40 years of teaching.
I guess part of it is enjoying what you're doing. If you're really sick, you probably should stay home. But if you're just kind of a little lazy in the morning, once you get up and get going and you think, oh, well, now, if I miss the day, the kids aren't going to learn this or you're not going to do that, and you get going, and as soon as you're here, why, you forget that you ever thought that maybe you wanted to stay home that morning.
The Cape Breton District School Board spent the best part of $2 million last year on substitute teachers. The good news is that 1 of every 5 instructors had a perfect attendance record. Nancy?
All right, thanks, Randy. That's ATV's Randy McDonald in Sydney tonight. Paul?
So what about this? The hard figures do seem hard to come by, but any employer will tell you more employees are calling in sick these days and more often. In some circles, this promptly calls for a return to a puritanical work ethic. Others say people are working harder, longer than ever before, and that's why they're getting sick. Ron Shaw has a story for us.
For those on the outside looking in, the unemployed, taking time off work unless you're on your deathbed seems frivolous. When you talk about increases in employee absenteeism, well, what may come to mind is something like this, taking an afternoon off in a place like this to quaff a cold one. But the reality is much different. But the last few years have been no picnic for those on the inside either. If the folks working on both sides of you are laid off, it usually means you wind up doing their jobs on top of your own. It takes its toll. The Communications, Energy and Paper Workers Union represents more than 140,000 Canadian workers.
People are under stress because they have a hard time to meet the financial obligations of day-to-day living, and so there you have an area where people are going to miss work because of stress.
The walking wounded turn up in doctors' offices, and they're left to decide whether someone needs medication or time off to recover and develop ways of coping with stress.
Their whole life can be disturbed by their stress. In other words, they can be physically ill with insomnia, loss of appetite, they can actually lose weight, and so on. So if they're physically ill because of stress, then they have to be treated.
The trouble is, someone has to pay for it. There's also a growing consensus that managers and employees have to work together to reduce sick time.
And one of the things that makes it difficult for Canadian businesses to compete in international markets is low productivity. And this whole question of absenteeism is a big part of that productivity equation.
In Moncton, Ron Shaw, ATV News.
Actually, you know, there are employers now who are moving towards rewarding employees for perfect attendance. They have a certain allotment of sick days. If they don't use them, they get paid for them.
Not a bad idea. Sure. When we return, even pop star Michael Jackson took a stress leave recently. We'll go live to Los Angeles for the latest developments in his situation in just a moment.
McDonald Park and Big Boulevard, Moncton.
Welcome back to Live at 5. The Oregonian newspaper reports authorities now believe they have enough evidence to arrest Tanya Harding in the attack on figure skater Nancy Kerrigan. But investigators reportedly want to have an airtight case before making a final decision. The Oregonian says much of the case against Harding is based on statements from 3 of the 4 suspects already charged with conspiring to assault Kerrigan. Harding's ex-husband is among those charged, of course. Harding has repeatedly denied any involvement in or knowledge of the attack on Kerrigan.
And Nancy, Michael Jackson has been no stranger to controversy over the last month or so. Allegations of sexual molestation, a civil suit in the offing, and now comes word that there may be a settlement, an out-of-court settlement. Linda Joyce standing by in Los Angeles Live with the very latest on that. Linda?
Paul, I can tell you this reported deal worth millions of dollars would essentially shut down the civil molestation suit against pop star Michael Jackson. And according to legal experts, it could end the criminal investigation as well.
We love you, Michael. We love you.
A handful of Michael Jackson supporters came to the Santa Monica courthouse today to prop up the embattled superstar, and the media lined up in force to hear what may be a deal to end the civil suit against the entertainer. Extortion charges are no longer part of the investigation surrounding the sexual molestation allegations and entertainer Michael Jackson. When the allegations surfaced last summer, Jackson's private investigator Anthony Pellicano claimed Jackson was the victim of an extortion attempt from the 14-year-old's father and attorney. Monday, the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office announced there was no evidence to file any charges.
We have the state decided not to file charges of attempted extortion.
Molestation charges surfaced last July when the alleged victim told his therapist he had a relationship with Jackson over a 4-month period. Within weeks, the Los Angeles Police Department began its criminal investigation, searching Jackson's properties. That investigation and another one involving the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department continue. The civil suit filed in September seeks unspecified damages. The suit accuses Jackson of sexual abuse on a minor. Jackson denies the allegations. Here are his most recent statements made during a taping of the NAACP Image Awards earlier this month.
Because not only am I presumed to be innocent, I am innocent. And I know that the truth will be my salvation.
Attorneys from both sides are scheduled to be in court within the next few minutes, and there's also a news conference scheduled where the reported deal will be announced. Reporting live from Los Angeles, I'm Linda Joyce. Back to you, Paul, Nancy.
So, Linda, obviously this announcement is quite imminent within the next few minutes.
Something is coming within the next few minutes. Now, you know that there's a civil case that's still underway until this deal is signed and sealed. And in that civil proceeding, many motions were scheduled to be heard today. Those motions include compelling Jackson to answer many questions, also his private eye, and also opening up his financial records for the accuser's attorney.
All right, thanks, Linda, very much.
You bet.
Linda Joyce live in Los Angeles, and should there be an announcement of an out-of-court settlement, we'll have that for you either here in Live at 5 or on the ATV Evening News at 6. Steve.
Now, here once again are the numbers you need to take part in tonight's Live at 5 telephone poll. The question is, do you think Canada should cut back on peacekeeping? If you'd like to register a yes vote, the number to call is 1-900-273-0030. That's 1-900-273-0030 if you think Canada should cut back on peacekeeping. If you'd like to vote no, the number to call is 1-900-273-0031. That's 1-900-273-0031 if you do not think that Canada should cut back on peacekeeping. Calls cost 50 cents apiece, and the lines will remain open until 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. We will repeat these numbers just one more time in the hour if you didn't get them this time.
Yeah. Time now to move on to our milestone segment, Nancy, and we've pulled one couple out of our file today, and we are sure they have many tricks up their sleeve for matrimonial longevity. Meet Andre and Marie Duga of Little Brook Station, Digby County. Duga is in the Gulfer, right? Their family and friends want everyone to know the magic of their 62 years of marriage together. Love and best wishes from 6 children, 13 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. Congratulations to the Dugas from all of us here in the newsroom. And that's all we pulled from the hat today. Let's see what magic we can pull for you tomorrow.
All right, there's lots more to come in the second half of Live at 5 tonight, including Richard's complete maritime weather forecast.
And we've also got these stories still ahead.
I'm Greg Boone. Have you ever considered becoming an organ donor? We'll have some facts and opinions on the issue coming up on Live at 5.
I'm Yvonne Colbert on your side, where the installation of this stretch of pavement has caused a big parking headache for the man who lives here. That story's coming up later tonight on Live at 5.
I'm Dan Theo in Bryn Alban, Prince Edward Island, with a singer in there who's doing some great things with some very old music. I'll have more coming up tonight on Live at 5.
And later, tune in a mystery. Is this instrument an antique worth as much as $1 million or just a family heirloom? We've got some answers later. Stay with us.
It says 17 human beings would visit the moon. Ever wonder where the moon came from?
Ever wonder why?
It is hats off to this guy in ATV's Wonder Why. The children's science show, hosted by our scientist meteorologist, Richard Zarowski, has added yet another award to its already impressive list. The program, seen Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock here on ATV, has been honored with the award for Best Program for Children and Young Adults at the International Association of Television Program Executives Conference in Miami. ATV was the only Canadian station to win an award from this prestigious international organization, so congratulations to all of those involved, the hard-working crew and the producer, and of course, Richard Zarowski.
Who's blushing over there, actually. I've never seen him blush before. Now, we'd really give him an award for Live at 5 meteorology if he could reward us with the January thaw.
You know what they say, Nancy, I think it'll be a cold day. Take it away, speaking of cold days.
Well, thank you, and I'd like to thank everyone who is involved with Wonder Why. We've had a great time. And of course, we're very, very pleased with the award. And we're also working on a January thaw. And technically, a January thaw is supposed to take place in January, hence the name January thaw. And it looks as though we're going to squeak just under the line. Just as we move in towards the end of January, it looks as though a thaw is going to be happening. But until then, the next day and a half is going to bring some double-digit frigid, our patented snuggle alert, all sorts of other things are being brought in by that Siberian clipper. And again, it's a northerly flow. It stretches all the way up into the North Pole and beyond into Siberia, and that means some very cold temperatures for tonight. So the flow of air will be from the northwest across the maritime regions, and you can see lots of cloud over the Gulf of St. Lawrence. You can see most of the clear skies drifting on down in through to the southeast. Close-up view shows some cloud over the water areas around Cape Breton Island, Prince Edward Island, and of course the eastern shore of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. So for tonight, we'll dispense with everything. Look at these temperatures. Minus 14 down to the south, and the reason it's minus 14 is because it's on the extreme southern coastal area of Nova Scotia, and the influence of that beautiful Gulf Stream will keep the temperature up to minus 14 tonight in Yarmouth-Barrington Passage, but all the way down to minus 30 degrees up in St. Leonard, Bathurst, Dalhousie, minus 28 degrees to minus 24 degrees along the eastern shore of the maritime regions. And it's all being brought in by a massive ridge of high pressure. By tomorrow evening, it looks as though there's nothing to talk about but this ridge of high pressure. That's our weather maker. That means all sorts of sunshine, but it also means the cold temperatures will be continuing for at least another day. But as the high starts to progress from west through to east, we'll look at a southwesterly flow, and there's a bit of a disturbance down to the south, which is going to give us some milder temperatures, and that means we're looking at a January thaw. But until then, temperatures will remain on the cold side. Let's take a look at New Brunswick. Minus 18 to minus 19 degrees for the daytime high. Sunshine with cloudy periods out to the east as well. Again, minus 18 to minus 20. Mainland of Nova Scotia, looks like temperatures will be between minus 14 to minus 20 degrees. Now, the good news is those are the daytime highs for tomorrow. But then as that disturbance rolls through the southern areas of the Great Lakes and then into the maritime regions, our flow of air is going to shift around from the northwest through to the southwest, and that's going to push the mercury up. And if you're wondering what the rest of the week holds for us, well, with all the sunshine tomorrow, we have 100% probability of sunshine. The same thing holds true for Thursday. And then on Friday, we're looking at a 30% probability of sunshine. But the good news, probability of warmer temperatures really does start to climb. We're looking also at Saturday with a 30% POS, and we're positive about the probability of sunshine. Again, until then, we have double-digit frigid. Don't forget to bring the pets in. Temperatures down to minus 30 degrees tonight with wind chill. And that is your weather forecast. Now back to you, Nancy.
Thank you, Richard. On a sad note now, a Nova Scotia woman who was in desperate need of a liver transplant has died despite a nationwide search for a liver donor. This morning, Ingrid Curfey, a 43-year-old mother of two from the Bridgewater area, passed away at the Victoria General Hospital in Halifax. She was suffering from a rare ailment known as Wilson's disease. Every day across the country, patients and their families hope for that one important phone call with word that their wait for a transplant is over. Organ and tissue transplantation is a reality that's become fairly routine, and tonight Greg Boone joins us live with more on this story. Greg.
Nancy, medical science is quite advanced, and clearly organ and tissue transplants do help save lives. But if it wasn't for the transplants would not be possible if it wasn't for the generosity and thoughtfulness of some donors.
I love this chore, love it.
Wendell Hill was 24 years old when he had a life-saving kidney transplant. His brother was the living donor.
20 years ago, it's given me the life I wouldn't have otherwise had. 20 years of it so far. 18 excellent, 2 so-so, but still, I'm moving.
Hill has since developed multiple sclerosis, but remains active with the Kidney Foundation as a volunteer. As an organ recipient, he never fails to mention the importance of donor organs and transplants.
So if you can make any appeal, the appeal is, in fact, discuss it.
Don't just sign the card and carry it and hide it in your wallet. Sit down, talk it over with your family members. Make sure everybody knows that this is what you want to do and that it will be done. That way there's no ifs, ands, or buts. When a situation does arise, the family knows that this is what the deceased wanted.
If they're interested, some potential donors have the option of either signing organ donor cards or a section on the back of their driver's license.
I think it's very good, very worthwhile thing to do.
Yes, I have, and I believe it in 100%.
I'm willing to give my organs to anybody that can have any help for them or use for them.
There are numerous moral and personal arguments for and against organ donation, but even some of the people who've yet to sign the back of their license or an organ donor card feel it's just a matter of getting around to it.
Actually, I've thought about it, but I just never thought about it when I had my license in my hand.
When you think of Carmen Young, it would make it a little easier. I probably would sign it. I just haven't done it.
I've often given it thought, the same as Kathy, but never really sat down to do it. But I believe if I was asked, I would do it.
The choice is private and personal, and sometimes religious beliefs make it impossible. But promoters of the concept say organ donations can make it possible for something good to come out of a tragic loss.
The need for donor organs is constant, and doctors and organizations spreading the message say it's something everyone should at least consider. Nancy?
Greg, I'm wondering what you can tell me about, or tell us, about the rate of organ donations in the Maritimes.
Well, there's some information I received late this afternoon from the multi-organ transplant program based in Halifax. It's an Atlantic-wide program. 1993 has been the best year ever for donations and transplants in Atlantic Canada. There were 122 transplants last year, made possible by 39 donors. And we're told that Maritimes or Atlantic Canadians are probably the most aware of organ donations and the need for organ donations than any other place in the country. And they tell us at the multi-organ donor program that it's awareness and publicity that helps, and they hope it continues at the rate it's been going.
All right. Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Very important message tonight. ATV's Greg Boone in Sydney. Paul.
Help wanted. That is the motto of the Halifax Board of Trade's youth project, which hires students aged 18 to 24 with poor employment skills and little education. And here's the key: they have to want to help themselves. The project boasts a 90% success rate in students finding employment after the course. Today, ATV's Tiffany Hussey spoke with successful graduates, students, and administrators about the Wonder School.
We're here at the Youth Project's computer room, where several of the students learn valuable computer skills to help get them into the business marketplace. And here's Karen Lines and Nikki Couvrette, who have both graduated from the course. Karen, can you tell us a little bit about what you've learned here at the Youth Project?
Sure. Well, first of all, we were all trained for entry-level clerical positions. We got academic upgrading. We received accounting courses, typing, computer programs, anything to do with entry-level clerical business.
Would you advise other people to maybe pursue something like this if they were tentative about not having that much education or skills? Would you think this would be a good idea?
Oh, definitely.
Nikki Couvrette is another graduate of the Halifax Board of Trade Youth Project. Nikki, tell me what you have learned from this program.
I've learned so much office skills, and not only that, but a lot in self-confidence and a lot of training, problem solving.
So it sounds really interesting so far. We decided to go over and talk to one of the coordinators of the program, Mary Stevens. Hi, Mary. How you doing? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tell us a little bit about the project itself and how it works?
Well, we're an entry-level clerical training program for school dropouts who have between a grade 7 and 9 education, are between 18 to 30 years old, have been out of school for at least 1 year, and are interested in getting a job in the clerical field.
How are you liking the program so far?
It's an excellent program. It's brought me somewhere where I've always wanted to be, but I could never have gotten on my own.
You get a lot of personal time, and the staff is great. They work well with you as well as a group as well as individually.
Well, it seems like going to school these days isn't as bad as it used to be. These students get paid to come to class, $5 an hour, 35 hours a week. And funding for this comes from CEIC and the Halifax Board of Trade members firm. In Halifax, Tiffany Hussey, ATV News.
Thank you, Tiffany. Still ahead, a feature interview with maritime singer Teresa Doyle and the solution to the violin mystery. But up next, Yvonne Colbert. ATV's On Your Side when Live at 5 returns.
So someone who was working on the job told you they were going to dig out some of your hill?
Definitely. They're going to put me a place here to park. Yep. It never happened. Done it all.
Return. Did you know another drugstore just opened down the road?
Hold on there, Pilgrim.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a...
The word is pharmacy.
Is gambling make... Do you have a future?
We may not enjoy shoveling it or sliding around in it in our cars, but the freshly fallen snow sure makes the countryside beautiful, doesn't it? This is Emmy Vale, PEI, one of thousands of quiet corners of our maritime neighborhood. The winter is covered in its blanket of white. Very picturesque. Our Live at 5 telephone poll tonight concerns peacekeeping in Canada. A very strong tradition in this country, but now some people are wondering if maybe we're doing too much. That's the subject of our telephone poll tonight. Here it is. Do you think Canada should cut back on peacekeeping? If you agree, 1-900-273-0030. If you disagree, 1-900-273-0031. Keep in mind that each call costs 50 cents. We're going to keep our lines open until 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, and we'll have the results for you tomorrow on Live at 5. Of course, our parliamentarians are debating Canada's involvement in Bosnia at this hour. Steve Murphy keeping an eye on that story, along with all of the other stories in the Maritimes at this hour. He's getting them all ready for the ATV Evening News at 6. Steve?
Right, you are, Paul. Highlights from the debate coming up here at 6 o'clock, along with a very interesting story about what might seem to be a double standard as some civil servants are coming to terms with pay cuts and pink slips. Some of our maritime politicians are quietly getting a raise. Find out who and why tonight at 6 o'clock. Also coming up at 6 tonight, cashing in on North American free trade. Some maritime business people look south to Mexico to cash in on new business opportunities. Will it mean any new jobs here at home? And you know, whoever said it never rains in Southern California should have been out there this morning. Take a look at this. Heavy, heavy rain, stalling an already slow rush hour, sending some of the quake refugees out of their tents and into dangerous buildings. The latest from the West Coast tonight at 6 o'clock, along with some pretty pictures of winter in British Columbia. But right now, we're on your side. Nancy and Yvonne.
Thank you, Steve. It is time now for ATV On Your Side with Yvonne Colbert, and tonight a story about sidewalk installation.
That's right, Nancy. Now, few people ever complain about sidewalks being installed, but for one Halifax man, sidewalk installation has caused a big parking problem.
I'm just disgusted with the whole thing.
Leo Landry isn't sure what to think about the situation he's been left with since a sidewalk was installed along the front of his St. Margaret's Bay Road home. Before the installation, he was able to park his truck in front of his house. Now, there just isn't room.
They were supposedly going to dig the bank out and give me a place, you know, I could pull in.
The work was done back in 1992 by Casavecchia Contracting. But before it was finished, the company went into receivership and the balance of the work was done by another firm. However, Landry says each time he asked the foreman of the work crew, he was assured a parking space would be provided. So what you wanted them to do was take some of that out?
Yeah, that's what I asked them to take this out for me, like they did everybody else.
All of this means in order to park now, Leo must drive past his home into his neighbor's driveway and park there. He can't understand why everyone else had driving areas provided, but he didn't. So what did they do in here, Mr. Landry?
They dug him out.
So this was all a hillside before?
Yeah, and they dug it all out for him. Yeah.
And what did they tell you when the construction work was going on? What did they say to you?
Said that I'd be the last one to do, and they never ever done it. The first thing, like I say, I'm repeating myself, seen the machinery going up the road.
I can relate. Frustrating situation. Where does it stand now?
Well, actually, I spoke to Bill Sullivan, who's with the Halifax Engineering and Works Department this afternoon, and he said this was the first he heard of the situation, but that he would have someone from the department contact Mr. Landry. Well, Mr. Sullivan is as good as his word, because before we even left there today, someone had called Mr. Landry and made arrangements to come out tomorrow and check out the situation. Now, Mr. Sullivan says that when those sidewalks were installed, they provided access to all the properties, and that it may turn out that Mr. Landry was parking on city property. That is yet to be determined, but in any event, I also stopped along the way and spoke to a few of his neighbors who did have driveway areas dug out, and each one of them told me that they had to pay for that out of their own pocket. Now, Mr. Landry said when he was discussing this with the work crews, the issue of payment never came up, but once the city gets out there tomorrow and checks out the situation, then we'll have a little better assessment of what's going on. But up to this point, Mr. Landry just had been dealing with a company that was no longer in business and really didn't know where to turn, so at least once this is all straightened out, he'll have an answer. Whether it's the one he wants or not is yet to be seen.
Okay, and you'll keep us posted.
For sure.
That's great. If you have a problem you think Yvonne may be able to help you with, here's how to contact her.
You can give us a call. I got that answering machine cleared out. Boy, it was full after just the weekend. The area code is 902. The number is 493-3404, and please leave a brief message. Or you can write P.O. Box 1653, Halifax, Nova Scotia. The postal code is B3J2Z4.
ATV's Yvonne Colbert is on your side. Do you think you can do something about this sore throat of mine?
I don't think so. I couldn't do much about my own, so good luck.
Thanks, Yvonne. Here's Paul.
Straight ahead on Live at 5, is it or isn't it a Stradivarius? A Pictou County mystery, and we think we've got the solution tonight. And also another maritime musician poised on the verge of international success. We will tune in the sweet sounds of Teresa Doyle when Live at 5 returns.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. For it's hard, you will find
Snow, ice, freezing rain. They're facts of life in New Brunswick. Prepare for them. Drive accordingly. Slow down for black ice you can't see, or another vehicle hidden in a cloud of blowing snow. You can't control the snow and ice, but you can change the way you drive. Remember, snow means slow. A winter driving safety reminder from the New Brunswick Department of Transportation.
Welcome back to Live at 5. The McDonald's restaurant on Quimple Road in Halifax has been transformed by this massive painting of the city's public gardens. Dartmouth painter Ray Lafrane was commissioned by the fast food king to create a setting much like one customers would have enjoyed in the 19th century. And it does look like you're walking through the public gardens there, doesn't it?
Of course, back then they had to wait a lot longer for their cheeseburgers. Well, you know, Nancy, traditional music is enjoying a tremendous popularity these days with, you know, the maritime success stories like the Rankins, the Bearers, Natalie McMaster, Ashley McIsaac, to name a few.
Yeah, well, now a Prince Edward Island folk singer is reaching back into 16th century England. Teresa Doyle's new collection of Renaissance music will be released this spring in North America and Japan. And our Dan Vio caught up with her in the studio.
Over her 15-year career, Teresa Doyle has performed on 4 continents, but it's only within the past few years that the resurgence of interest in traditional music has opened the door for the potential for commercial success for an album like the one Teresa is now working on, traditional Renaissance ballads for voice and lute.
Lute songs were to that time as folk songs are today. Everybody had their lute instead of a guitar and wrote these songs.
Like the setting here where Teresa is recording, there's a simple beauty to the music. Perhaps that's its appeal, although technically, Teresa says it's a challenge.
It's technically very difficult, especially for me because I'm not really... I have had voice lessons, but I'm not trained in this music, and this music really requires a lot of training, so I'm bringing the folk singer to the music and hoping for the best. It's very clean and very naked, so all the flaws are very evident, so it's very tough.
It's more complicated and more simple at the same time. Why people like it? Maybe it's because it's not aggressive. Maybe it's because it's not reaching out and grabbing them by the throat.
To coincide with the album, Teresa will tour the Far East, and if all goes well, she'll be in Ireland and Scotland this summer. In Brett Alvin, Dan Vio, ATV News.
And we wish you the best of luck. Well, you know, last night in Live at 5, we had a bit of a musical mystery. We told you about a Pictou County family that has what they believe to be a Stradivarius violin. They're not sure, and so we went out and dug for the information, and we think we've got the answer in this item right here. Tommy, if you want to load that up. We sent Dan McIntosh to find out from an expert if the violin is a Stradivarius, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars perhaps, or just one of many fakes that were manufactured around the turn of the century. Here's Dan McIntosh's story.
How old is that now?
It began when the Jollymore family discovered Grandpa's old violin, the one he bought in the States back in 1920, had a Stradivarius label, and the date, 1724.
Well, we don't really know. That's why we're here having pictures taken of it to find out. It's, you know, it's more or less just curiosity to know or not whether it is worth money.
Family members say all the fuss and attention has upset the woman who actually owns the violin, and they prefer we not take any pictures of them or the instrument. But curiosity has gotten the best of me. This videotape copy of my report from yesterday, I'm taking here to the Dalhousie Art Center. We played the tape for Philip Jokic, and the verdict was instantaneous.
Okay, I can tell you right there, it doesn't take me long to tell that it's not.
What tells you that it's not?
Well, first of all, the color of the varnish. It's a dark brown. Stradivarius are usually a bright orange or red. The F-holes, what you see there, this very elegant looking things.
The curves.
The curves, yeah, the opening, the top. Those are rather crudely cut, and as a person knowledgeable in violins, I can say that without a doubt it's not an original Stradivarius.
Thousands of Strad copies were sold around the world at the turn of the century, and purchasers usually knew they were just copies. You could even get one from the Sears catalog.
And they do make the statement that they have copied it so well that it would take an expert in violins to tell the difference between the real Stradivarius and the copies that they were selling at that time.
That's not to say every newly discovered Strad is an imitation. The best advice is to ask an expert before you start fiddling with your bank book. Dan McIntosh, ATV News.
Yeah.
That is some good advice.
Yeah,
Thanks,
very
Dan.
good. I mean, you'd hate to take what you thought was a fake Stradivarius and turn it into a wall clock or something only to find out it was the real thing. Take that advice. Have it checked out. Be sure.
Coming up next, ATV's Tuesday night primetime lineup, Richard's maritime weather wrap, and the incredible story of a really tough dog.
Live at 5 heads into the home stretch. Next, stay with us. You were looking at 9-month-old Apple, a puppy dog in New York City with a huge appetite, was eating some devil cake off the table while Master wasn't looking and accidentally swallowed a foot-long knife. Fortunately, he ate it handle first, and so veterinarians were able to extract it, and believe it or not, Apple is fine now. Just an amazing story. Doggone lucky, I'd say. Well, Nancy, this just in. We were talking to Linda Joyce, as you know, earlier in L.A. It is now official. Michael Jackson's lawyer has just announced the settlement of the sexual molestation lawsuit brought against him by the teenage boy. I'll just tell you that Howard Streisman, the lawyer, stresses that the resolution of the case is in no way an admission of any wrongdoing by Michael Jackson. So it appears that there is, well, there it is. It is official, a settlement now. There will be no civil lawsuit, no word on criminal charges, whether they'll be forthcoming.
All right, right now here's Richard Zarowski with a quick weather wrap. Richard.
Thanks, Nancy. And Paul, should be a good drive in tomorrow morning. Sunny, but oh so cold. Look at the temperatures, minus 25 to minus 14 degrees. Now back to Paul and Nancy.
Thanks,
All right, thank you, Richard. Here's our ATV primetime lineup for tonight. It all starts at 6:30 with Full House, Murphy Brown at 7, and then a new Full House at 7:30, followed by Terrific show. Home Improvement at 8 o'clock. Following that, it's Herman's Head, Rescue 911, Roseanne, John Larroquette at 10:30, and then the hard-hitting NYPD Blue at 11.
Then on the Wednesday edition of Live at 5, get the health facts about air pollution. Dr. Stuart Cameron has the story for us tomorrow, live at 5.
That's it for the Tuesday edition. Thanks a lot for joining us. Hope you'll join us here tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And now the news continues in ATV. Here's Steve Murphy in the ATV Evening News at 6. Steve?
Thank you, Paul. Nancy, tonight, as some public servants get fired, some politicians get a raise.
How much extra now are you paying the mayor and the alderman?
First of all, I told you that. I don't carry it around in my head. And the second thing is, I'm not at liberty to say at the present time.
College tuition hike. Is it yet another broken promise?
I sympathize with people about the cost, and I'm not very happy about university fees going up and up. But we have to face reality.
And first it was fire. Now the cops get chopped as the budget axe falls.
I thought they were just getting started with something new, which looked very exciting. And all of a sudden they say we haven't got the dollars to carry through.
From the #1 news team in Atlantic Canada, the ATV Evening News.
Good evening, everyone. The mayor and members of Halifax City Council